Hello and welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Diana Skaya. On the sidelines of EU's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas and European Council President Antonio Costa surprised Kyiv on Sunday, pledging unwavering support for Ukraine. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz also made an unexpected visit to Kyiv on Monday, vowing his country would remain Ukraine's biggest supporter in Europe and promising to deliver military aid worth 650 million euros this month. Now, joining me now in studio to discuss is Oleksiy Goncharenko, Ukrainian MP, European Solidarity, to the program. Thank you so much, Oleksiy, for being with us here this morning on World
Thank you
Talks.
very much for the invitation.
So before we get into the details here, what can you tell us about today's Monday's visit of Olaf Scholz, unexpected trip to Ukraine? What message is he trying to give to the West, possibly to show Russia?
I think this is an important message, and I think the fact that he is coming now is good. I would like if he would come not just with this package, but also with Taurus missiles, which he refuses to deliver to Ukraine. That would be a much more decisive step and a better signal. But in any way, it's good that he is visiting Ukraine, showing to Putin that Ukraine is number one point in the agenda, like yesterday's visit, or like you said, of Kaja Kallas, Costa also showing. So that is important. But again, I hope very much there is still time till elections in Germany, and maybe Mr. Scholz can finally make a decision to deliver to Ukraine long-range missiles, because we desperately need them.
What else would you say that Ukraine expects from this visit from the German Chancellor? I mean, what about talks possibly about the future U.S. administration under Trump?
I think there is no much sense to discuss it with Olaf Scholz today, because Germany will have its own elections probably in February. So it is possible, even very possible, that the government will change in Germany. So I think more important is to speak about what can be done now. Now it's a military support, budget support, more sanctions against Russia. As you see, also you told it in the news that Russia, Putin signed the state budget, and in this budget there is unprecedented almost $150 billion of military spending. It means, unfortunately, that Russia still has a war chest which gives possibility to continue this war, to buy these missiles, to pay to soldiers, to take mercenaries. Now we see also from North Korea, even from Yemen and so on. So it means that Russian economy is not really under sanctions, under real sanctions, under tough sanctions, if they succeed to do all of this. So that is something which can be changed now, and Mr. Scholz, Chancellor Scholz, can help in this a lot.
I mean, Oleksiy, you just said that it might not be effective because, I mean, Putin just showed his budget, but what can we expect from the proposed 15th EU sanctions package against Russia? Could this be effective in weakening Moscow?
It's depending what will be in this package. If it will be tough secondary sanctions, tough sanctions against oil and gas industry, Russian oil and gas industry, finally to cut off Russia from SWIFT and so on, that can be really helpful. If not, some sanctions on some industries or on some individuals, that's good, but it will not change a lot.
How realistic do you think that it is, cutting Russia off from all these sanctions of everything you just mentioned?
I'm quite pessimistic because it looks like now Europe, as you told, is waiting for new American administration in order to have a kind of harmonized policy together, and it's not clear what is the policy of President-elect Trump towards a Russian war against Ukraine. So probably it will not be as tough as it should be. But I'm sure that Olaf Scholz today will hear a lot in Kyiv to explain to him why it matters, what is the situation, and that Russia is preparing for a big war, not just with Ukraine. These $150 billion, they mean that Putin is preparing for big war in Europe, involving other countries too. So Europe should be strong today, strong enough to stop him. And unfortunately, now, at this moment, at this very moment, Putin feels himself emboldened.
So then what would you think is the EU's or NATO's weakness up against this Russian threat?
I think the main thing is the lack of leadership and weakness in making tough decisions like long-range capabilities, more military. Also, there is a big question why North Korea can provide millions of shells to Russia, why the whole European Union can't provide the promised 1 million shells to Ukraine. So North Korea in military production, which is a joke comparing to European economy, but is more productive in military production than the whole European Union. It's not right. It's the end of the third year of the full-scale invasion, and still we see that European countries are reluctant to really ramp up military production and so on.
Let's talk about Kaja Kallas's and Antonio Costa's trip to Kyiv on the first day. What are the biggest takeaways that we can take from their visit?
First of all, it was very symbolic because yesterday was the first day of their term in the European Commission, so they clearly showed the priorities. That is very good, that is very important. I was not waiting anything else from Kaja Kallas. She's really a great friend of Ukraine when she was Prime Minister of Estonia. Also, like all Eastern European countries, Estonia and Estonians, like Polish people, realize the threat from Russia much better than Western European countries, which are further away. It's very good that Mr. Costa also joined her as a head of European Council and as a representative of Portugal, the most far country from Russia, but it showed also his priorities, which is good. Also, they had important talks and conversations. They received more information needed for their mandate on their new positions. So I hope this visit will give a lot of fruits.
Kallas mentioned here the importance of ensuring Ukraine is in the strongest position before negotiations, with any type of negotiations with Russia. What do you think such a position or scenario could look like, and what role can the European Union play in facilitating this? Or do you just simply not see something like this happening in the near future?
No, I think that it's very possible that some negotiations will happen because President-elect Trump is clear about his will to organize such negotiations. What will be the result, we don't know, but I completely agree with Kaja Kallas that if we really want these negotiations to be successful and beneficial for security of Europe, we need to enter these negotiations in the strongest possible position. What does it mean, strongest possible position? It means military strength, because Putin understands only one language of strength. So if Ukraine will enter, and Europe together, we will enter these negotiations with big long-range capabilities, with huge attacks on Russian territory, with Russian military objects destroyed before these, for example, during December or January. So that would be a strong position when Putin would realize that Ukraine, together with its allies, can really seriously harm his military and his economy. That's the only way. In this case, Putin probably will be ready to speak and to have negotiations and to look for some solutions. In other case, he just doesn't need it. He will try to continue and to bend, Europe on its knees before him.
So do you think incoming President Donald Trump, when he takes the Oval Office in January, will actually be able to end this war in just 24 hours, like he said over numerous times? What do Ukrainians say about this?
Ukrainians would be the happiest people in the world if this war would finish in 24 hours, because we are exhausted, we are tired, we are dying every day. But first of all, we need real peace and not a ceasefire. It means security guarantees, which are essential here.
What kind of security guarantees?
The best is the membership in NATO, absolutely clear. That's the only security guarantee which really works as we see in the world. If not this, some security agreement with the United States right now, kind of Japanese agreement, what Japan has with the United States, for example. But it should be really strong guarantees, not only from the United States, from Europe too, but United States are essential because this is the biggest military power in the world. So that's what we are looking forward.
And just very briefly, Oleksiy, because we're almost out of time, how might the European Union's continued military and financial support for Ukraine reshape its own foreign policy in the near future?
I think that should be the main priority of European foreign and security policy, because from what's happening now in Ukraine depends the future of the whole Europe.
Thank you so much, Oleksiy Goncharenko, Ukrainian MP with European Solidarity, for being with us here this morning.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
To discuss this ongoing, unfolding crisis developing in Ukraine. And that's all for this edition of World Talks here on TVP World, where every word matters. I'm Diana Skaya. Up next, more news with Salia Shemska. Stay tuned.